So tired.
Hello. Hi. This is our, I don't even know what number we're on now. 6, I think.
I don't know, 6, 7, 24. I don't know.
72. Hi, everybody. Welcome to Witchworth. Our next segment. We're a bit late because we've been doing a lot of stuff. We've had a lot going on in work, and there is moving house. Yeah, which is shit. Yeah, nobody wants to be doing that.
Anyway.
So we're at Kira's old home. Well, it's probably the last one before you move in this house.
In this house, yeah.
Oh, it's so sad.
But, you know, we can always come back here if we need to.
Yeah, we'll just tell Mark, move.
It's my brother's house, so.
He wouldn't care. He wouldn't even know what we were doing in here anyway.
Yeah.
So, hi, welcome everybody. Naomi, if you don't know, Kira. We were just reminiscing about
adverts back in Ireland.
Talking about the Green Giant. And
it's an advert for sweet corn and peas or something, I think.
I really like that one because the giant was quite good looking on the corn.
Wasn't he a cartoon?
He was, but it didn't matter. He was quite buff because he could lift the corn and he ate all his greens, obviously.
He was like Popeye.
And he used to come alive and like wink to the kids, and I'd be like, yeah.
He's winking at me.
He's telling me. Anyway, I'm like in and out of the camera here because I'm drinking my tea.
Mm. It's just been a week that's felt like a year.
Yes, it has. So, let's get on with it. I actually haven't listened to much stuff in a few weeks because it's just been really crazy busy. What's it even been busy with? Mental trauma, really. Physical and mental trauma.
There's just been so much going on.
There has been a lot going on. Life is just
life.
mental. This year is sucky.
It has been a bit.
Well, maybe
and
that's...
It's going really quickly too.
It's going so quick.
You blink, and because I think it's about 4 weeks since we've done a podcast, maybe even longer. But like... It seems like only last week we were sitting here doing the last one.
It's just been really busy. Work's been super busy. Home life's been really busy. The weeks are just flying in.
And we've had a couple of busy weekends too, like doing introduction to witchcraft course with some people. I'm going to witch markets in Toowoomba last weekend.
Which was good. It wasn't as good as last year, but it was still good. Yeah. I still had a nice time because we were there with Taylor and it was nice.
Yeah.
But last year it had just better stalls.
Yeah.
And there was more people. But then I think about the Beltane Fire Festival, which markets, and they were really good. There was a lot of different stalls there that we didn't see before.
Yeah.
But then that was quite far up north, so yeah.
Speaking of which, for anybody who is interested, the Beltane Fire Festival is a weekend festival run by the same person
3 days.
Who does the witch markets up in
Old Gympie Road.
Yeah, it's
rocky.
I can't remember the name of it's a scout campground up near Australia Zoo on the Sunshine Coast. So that's on I think it's the 8th and 9th.
Yeah, 7th, 8th and 9th, I think.
Of November. For anyone.
It's usually a Friday night, Saturday all day and night, and Sunday day. Yeah.
And you can camp there, or we are not campers. There's too many things that can crawl into your tent and kill you.
I'm not a camper at
So
all.
we'll just book accommodation up near there again.
Also, do you feel like maybe you're not a camper because you did the Duke of Menabur in the Mourne Mountains and it just really traumatized us?
No, you see, I used to do camping a lot with Venture Scouts back home.
Oh.
And hiking and stuff, and I absolutely loved it. But it's the creepy crawlies here that, like, I didn't mind stuff there. Like, you could have had a goat in your tent. It did not bother me, but...
No, I didn't mind the creepy crawlies, but it was freezing and it was so tiring. And, well, mind you, I got lost several times during someone made me the leader. I don't know why that was... I got roped into it. I think the teacher was like, Naomi, you could lead. And I was like, I don't know how to read a compass. But I lied and said, yeah, no, totally, I can do that. And then I couldn't.
Because you're too obliging.
And then we got lost and they had to send out a search party. And
I just don't like camping here. I lived on a cherry farm for a while down in Victoria. They had wolf spiders that literally jumped 3 foot in the air. So no, thank you.
So we don't camp. We did a B&B instead. That was interesting.
That was
for another topic.
That's a story for another day. But yes, if anyone is interested in the Beltane Fire Festival, we're going to be there this year as well. So yeah, we'd love to see you there.
We're putting on 2 workshops. Did we say that?
No, I didn't.
just saying we're participants. We're participants.
We're going. Yeah.
And we're doing 2 workshops. So it's on Irish witchcraft, which we're obviously that's what we do. And we're doing, we will actually link our stuff in the Instagram post. I'm just waiting for one of the posts to be updated. So it's already on the Beltane Fire Festival web Facebook page, but one of them has to be updated. So we'll post them on our Instagram whenever they're there. But yeah, we're going to be holding a workshop on Saturday and a workshop on Sunday. So watch the space. We hope to do more because we love doing workshops, and we've done a couple of online stuff for Monica and things, but like that's really mainly just presenting.
Yeah.
I prefer hands-on, like in-person sort of stuff.
Yeah.
I mean, we say that, I might be cacking my pants when I get there. I'll be like, oh, I forgot everything.
Hot mess like our podcast. That's okay.
Anyway, that's enough of that. So what did we want to talk about? So we've had Circle a couple of times, obviously, because we've been AWOL sort of on our podcast a little bit. Oh my God, it was such a hot, was it Tuesday or Monday? Tuesday. I was a hot mess on that one. I was knocking everything over. I got really upset during some of it. That's okay. Those things happen sometimes. It's like energy release and different things. And it was just, so that's actually brought on what we're going to talk about today, like how things influence how we're feeling and how it influences our energy during witchcraft. So I was listening to another podcast. This was weeks ago though. It was an old podcast, but it just got me sort of thinking about how energy influences our work and our craft and our sort of everyday living. And it was Damsel Elysium.
Yes.
So she's a singer. She's British. Yeah, she's British.
She is, yeah, a British musician.
She does a lot of instrumental type work. Is it who? I was trying to think of the other girl who she's headlined for, but can't remember her name now. Anyway, so she's a witch herself, and she does a lot of instrumental type music. And so she's quite introverted, and which is, I suppose you could say, is it unusual for a musician, right? A lot of us think like musicians are quite extroverted and really connect with their audience in a very physical and energetic and sort of like mental way. And she got talking about how, because she is extremely introverted and very, very shy, that she finds it very hard when she does do shows and she has to put on that sort of persona. So she talks about how energy affects energy affects us sort of in lots of different ways, but she actually feeds off the energy rather than the, I suppose you would say, physical experience of it, or the sort of that sort of thing. So she talked about how when she is up on stage, lots of things matter to her: how she dresses, what she's wearing, the type of clothes that she's wearing, the musical instruments that she has, the audience itself, because every audience is different. And then she talks about how she finds it difficult to connect with them physically as an extroverted type of presence. So she connects with them through energy and through the music, and she connects with them through, it's a kind of an intuitive frequency that she's on. And she sort of explains it like putting the audience in the same frequency vibe, so you connect on that level rather than a meet face-to-face
one
physical level.
I did love what she said about how she connects with her audiences. She will have flowers on the stage, and then she gives a flower to each of the audience members. Yes. And that's how that's like a connection.
It's like a
thread. Yeah. And that's one of the ways that she connects with them as well. And I was like, that's really interesting.
Yes, really interesting. But it shows how much thought she puts into, like, she knows, and it's not a negative point in any shape or form, but she is so connected to her own energy and how she operates as a witch, as a musician, as a person, that she goes to herself, okay, I've got to put on these shows and I want to do that and I want to experience things. I want people to experience my music, but I can't connect in the same way a typical normal show would exist. So I will do it. So she has her own take on things. It's so interesting. That the podcast was so interesting. And she uses atmospheric effects like refracted light to connect with her audience, to set the scene. But one of the most interesting things that she talked about was that she never plays the same music twice, ever, which is so weird, right? So, and the reason for that is because she cannot work in a structured way. She finds the structure and the set routine of like music and reading music and learning it and repeating it. She finds that really exhaustive, and she just, it doesn't sit with her energetically. Which I find, you know what I find wonderful too? Because she's such an introvert, yet she clearly knows herself very well, which you would expect sometimes the opposite. Mm-hmm. Like you would expect sometimes people to be shy or like really don't handle social situations great, that they would actually go along with a lot of things and end up actually stressed out, where she's the opposite. She's very good at putting out boundaries and saying, I can't do that. Yeah. This is how I do things instead. So she doesn't play the same music twice. What she does is she will record in a studio the regular way you would record an instrumental piece. And she will just do it. She'll have an idea of what she wants to put down, how she wants it to sound, but it basically comes from a very intuitive place. And it's done that day. It's recorded. It's wrapped. Boom. It's on the EP, whatever it is. When she goes to do the show, she cannot play the same piece because it was done intuitively at the time. So they use that EP song or whatever, that instrumental piece, as like it's kind of like a backing track or sort of like a bass line. It's not played necessarily as a backing track, but the notes and the sound, and it's like it's like the backdrop, right? And that influences her music for the evening that she's going to play to that audience, plus how the audience is, the vibe. She never has so she has her own, cello is her main instrument. She plays other instruments, but cello is her main one. And she can't travel with a cello when she's doing like international shows. So she always loans a cello when she goes to the international shows. And what was interesting was she mentioned that the cello is different every time she gets it because it has an energetic, it is, she says, like a spiritual presence. I see it more as like an energetic blueprint because they're put together, although they're all the same, they're put together slightly differently. They're all man-made. The wood is slightly different. There is an energetic presence, not only of the person who put it together, but of the wood, of the tree, of everything about it, of the culture. And it's all sort of like blueprinted into the cello. So when she gets a loan of a cello when she's doing an international show, her sound check is very important because that's when she gets a vibe of the instrument. And she'll say some of them are really hard to play. Some of them are really easy. Some of them are quite introverted. Some of them, and you've got to really coax the music out. And some of them are really chatty and they just, they're just can't wait to sort of like be played. And she said, and the way that piece feels to her and how she picks up on that energy will also influence this show, which is why each piece of music that she plays is completely different, which is it's just mind blowing and amazing too. The fact that she can do that every single time, like it's freaking amazing.
Well, if you think of a regular pop star, let's say, the amount of rehearsals that they do to make sure that they get it right every single time. And if you, let's say, for instance, Taylor Swift is here in Australia. If you go to see her in Melbourne and you go to see her in Sydney and you go to see her in Brisbane, each show will basically be the same format. Obviously, like people like her will bounce off the audience's energy as well, but not to the same extent because it's very structured. They know what songs they're singing. They know what clothing they're wearing because
where the backup dancers will be, what the show's going to have.
That's the theme of the show. Like it's very rigid and very structured.
Yeah, but I find it amazing that she can do that because I find it amazing because I'm a very organized, prepared person. But now I can do things on the fly, like I do a lot of stuff like that, but I have to have an idea beforehand. I can't just go straight into it.
Yeah.
And I find it amazing that she's able to do that night after night in different countries. And it's like, oh my God, my anxiety would be through the roof.
Yeah.
But, I'd be thinking like, oh, what if I like just totally can't even remember what it is I'm supposed to be playing? But she doesn't. So that just shows how connected she is to her energy, how connected she is to her instruments, to her music, to the frequency, to the energy of the crowd, all of it. So it just got me, and she is a witch, obviously, because she was on the Witch Wave podcast. So obviously that influences her instrumental music and how she's able to adapt her energy per show and per musical piece and everything else. So the way Pam described it, which is Pam Grossman's the person who sort of runs the podcast, so the way she sort of described it, I really liked that analogy that she gave. She said, like, so she plays a different piece every time, right? But they put that sort of EP backing track on to sort of like give her a vibe of like, oh, okay, yeah, I know where I'm going with this. And what she sort of explained was it's like a skeleton. So the skeleton is always the same. The bones are there, but every time she plays, it's new flesh. So it's a different looking skeleton each time. And I find that really, I just loved it. I love skeletons and bones and things. So I was like,
literally just read my notes on that too. And I was like, I must remember and say that. And frequency is here.
So I find that really great because then I thought that is essentially what we do in witchcraft. Now, maybe not everybody, and that's totally fine because it's a total individual craft and practice. But when I do a spell, I suppose when I first started out years ago, I mean, I read a lot of books. I still read a ton of books because I just like knowing I love picking up on things and incorporating them into my practice. But I like hearing people talk. I like listening to other witches. I like being in the same room as other witches. I love getting the vibes of people. And I sort of thought, and it's maybe different for other people, but every spell I do is different and it's never the same. Now, obviously, it's not the same if it's for different things, but even if it's an abundance spell, like I've done multiple career spells throughout my time, and they've all been different each time, never have been exactly the same.
Well, it's kind of like that skeleton analogy. Like
that's
you've got the basis of it, but you build your different layers.
The bones are the same, but the flesh is different every single time.
Yeah.
So my bones are the same for how I do spells and how I put them together, I guess, but it is different flesh every time I do a spell, whether it's throughout everything. If it's even bindings that I've done are completely different. What I do is, you see, I just look at my grimoire and I go, yeah, okay. And the reason I have them all in there is because I don't update every single spell in my grimoire, by the way. People probably, you should, but I don't. I've done it for years, so I don't really need to. Like, I usually know what I'm putting together, but I will look at certain things. I will put things in if I've had a really big reaction or if I've had a really energetic response to a particular spell. I'll put it in, and then I'll always go back and look at it, and that will be my bones. And I will look at that, and I'll be like, okay, yeah, I know what I'm doing, and then I'll go and put together something different.
Yeah.
So I just thought, like, is that the same? Like, is that essentially what it is? Each time we do spells or any sort of work like that, it's the same bones, but it's different flesh. And as you grow in your practice and you grow as a person and as a witch, you are new flesh every single time.
Yep.
Which is really interesting.
Yeah.
So what else did we want to talk about? So we talked about really layering and frequency and how we sort of vibe with different energy. And sort of part of that was that she talked about how she actually, I can't remember who it was. I think it was Pam that said when she plays these different frequencies and she intuitively puts things together, which is really how we put together spells and we layer, we have the same bones but different flesh. We put out like a sonic echo, if you like, and that sort of connects to the right people, the right web in the etheric web of life or spiritual energy or however you want to put it. And it sort of like influences how, I guess the energy influences how your spell is created or how it ripples. So I'm not talking about whether you are in a good frame of mind or bad frame of mind. Like, I try to be in a neutral frame of mind anytime I do spell work. Sometimes that's not always the case. That's okay. I'm not really, usually I just go by how I feel. But certainly how I do the spell and how I create that new flesh puts out it's influenced by different things.
Absolutely.
So my influences would be music, how I'm feeling, not necessarily what I'm wearing, but sometimes it depends what mood I'm in. And chanting, color, not so much. Smell is a big one.
Smell is a big one for me.
Smell is a big one for me.
And my surroundings.
And my space is really important. Yeah. So I feel like that influences my practice quite a lot. So I have my own witch room space. I feel very calm and collected in that area because it's got all of my stuff that I've collected over the years. But it influences how I put together a spell. It influences how I feel. It influences the ripple effect once I let it out. And it puts me into the frequency that I want to be on.
I guess it's not just spell work either. Like I was just sitting thinking about how I feel, because obviously I don't have a witch's room because I don't have the space in my house. In my next house, there will be a bit more space where I can have my witch's area and I'll be able to connect a bit better there. But I do sometimes find it very difficult to connect in the space that I have at the moment. But when I'm at Circle, it's just like it's amplified.
Yeah.
And I put that down to the people that we're doing Circle with, the way that I always dress for Circle.
Yeah.
You know, I don't go dressed daggy for Circle. I always,
daggy.
Yeah, that's very Australian, isn't it?
Daggy.
Yeah. I always like to present myself well, and it's not for anybody at Circle. It's for me because it gets me in that zone.
Yes.
If I'm traveling with Naomi, we're always talking about witchy stuff on the way there. If we're not traveling together, usually we're talking on the phone. Or I'm listening to something that is going to put me in that frame of mind. Then when we connect with our witch sisters in the courtyard before we go into the space, we're always chatting about stuff that we've done. We walk into the space, we get anointed with oil, we get cleansed with smoke. The atmosphere is just magical. Like
and the person that leads it is magical too. So Stella and Sarah lead it.
Yeah.
Sometimes Sammy jumps in, but they have a very magical presence and a very it's not necessarily about what you like. I really do feel the vibe from Stella and Sarah. Like I feel the witchy vibe and the influence. So that greatly influences, I feel like, how I am at Circle.
Yeah.
If that makes sense.
Yeah, it's that frequency that we're just bathing in, I suppose.
Yeah, like if Stella turned up in a rabbit onesie pajama suit, I don't know. I think I'd just
really work for you.
I just don't know. I think I'd be like, I'm not sure what's happening.
Yeah.
But and again, it's not a superficial thing. When you say like externally how somebody looks, it's not superficial as in externally how they don't look like a witch or it's what we're talking about is what influences us, what is the energetic influence like Damsel that influences how she does things, why she's so connected to her energy and the energy of the crowd. And what was another really interesting part that she said, because she's very introverted, right? Like very shy. And she says that sometimes she obviously has to do social things and she finds that very difficult because she finds it hard to connect with people in that social and physical environment. So she's, and she connects through her clothes. So she'll say, like, if I know I can't connect through my personality or I'm going to find that challenging, I will connect through what I wear, and I will wear something that shows my personality, or I sort of put that energy influence into my clothes, as in, which I feel like that's what Stella and Sarah and Sammy do. Right? I'm just using them as 3 examples because they're the ones that stick out in my mind. But I feel like whether they do or not consciously, it feels like their energy, even though they obviously have outgoing personalities, that energy is also in their clothes. It's in what they're wearing. It's in how they present themselves and the presence that they have. So that does influence me. It inspires me. And it influences how I feel and the space that I'm in. Just like we would influence each other because we're together and we feel connected and comfortable with each other. And
well, look, have you ever walked into a shop and seen something on a mannequin and go, oh my God, that is so beautiful. You go into the change room, you put it on, you go, holy shit, that's, ugh. No, I don't feel,
I don't feel good in it.
It fits well, but you're just like, I just do not feel good in this at all.
Yeah. Yep.
It's the same. Like, clothing is not really living, I suppose, but it will have that frequency.
Yeah.
Like, it makes you feel something. Try it next time when you put something on. Just like, how does it make you feel?
If you're going to do a spell, for example, you don't have to dress up, but think about what you're wearing, right? So rather than doing a quick spell in your pajamas, because you've got to do this, that, and the other, like actually intentionally think, okay, if I was going to a coven circle or I was doing this, like what would I wear? Would I turn up in my everyday wear, or would I wear something that felt more witchy or influenced me in some way? And does it influence you because it has an energetic presence? Because like the cello that's different every single time, that she is, that energetic presence is influencing her on a regular basis. It is influencing how she performs that set. It's influencing because she's so in touch with it, right? And I feel like clothing can do that, especially if it's natural fibers, right? Because anything that's natural like that, and I think about Stella's witch hats, right, which are made from wool, and can't remember the whole actual specs around the actual how it's made and everything else, but it's specifically designed and made from a specific type of wool that's very high quality, that has its own frequency and its own energetic presence. And I do feel that when I wear the hat, right? Yeah. I feel empowered, I feel witchy, I feel in tune. I mean, if you can't wear your witch hat to a coven circle, when the hell can you wear it?
Exactly.
Really? I mean, around the house? I mean, sometimes I'll even put it on at home if I'm doing a spell. Just depends.
Here's the thing. Just you saying about wearing it around the house. I used to work with a girl who used to put on a pair of high heel shoes to vacuum her house because it made her feel fucking amazing.
That's mad. Yeah.
Every time. Now, this girl never wore high heel shoes.
Yeah.
She didn't even wear makeup to work.
Yeah.
But she loved to wear her high heel shoes vacuuming her house.
I mean, I'd be tripping over everything. So
I would too, but my God, like, why not?
Yeah, this is it.
Why not?
Why not? Like, you are a witch. You are an energetic being. You are a spiritual being, and you have constant energetic pulls, influences, by everything around you. So think about what is pulling your energy. Think about what's enhancing your energy. Think about what's influencing your energy. So that's like the clothing part, and it can be color too. Like, I'm not that attached to color in a certain way. I like the darker thing. Like, my whole house is like a really dark gray painted walls.
It's beautiful.
It's dark everywhere. It's just, that's just how I am. I'm a night owl rather than a day person, and I love black and grays and dark colors. But bright colors freak me out, actually. I don't even, like, if I even see bright colors, I'm like, whoa, that's just too much for me. Not bright as in like, I'm like neon, or, where I see these like decor shows and it's like white walls with like neon, and I'm like, holy fuck, that would freak me out if I had that in my house. Like, I have to have muted tone. I'm a muted tones type of person. Anyway, but muted tones influence me.
So if I wore bright pink lipstick,
I think I'd say, what is happening right now?
What the fuck?
I'd be like,
gotta get me some.
If you said, can I put some on you? I'd just let you do it, because I'd be like, at least we can do it together.
Next podcast, we're gonna have bright pink lipstick.
Might look like we've got some sort of lip disease.
We're gonna be rocking the clown look.
But even if if I was to put, like, I wear minimal makeup, like I just wear sort of plain makeup, like I've always worn the same sort of stuff. I don't like a dark lip on myself and everything else, but if I was to put one on, it freaks me out even to look at it, because I'm like, that's just not me.
Do you know, I always see it on other people. Do you remember Mirren at the Samhain Circle that we did?
Oh, and she had a dark lip.
She had a dark lip. Oh my God, it was stunning.
Yeah, she looked
so
good.
Beautiful. But if I do that, I'm like,
But yeah, I might think, if you're wearing it, I might think, oh, that looks really good on you. But it's this thing of like, sometimes you're not used to seeing it, so you allow your ego to come through and talk you out of it and say, get that off, like you shouldn't wear it. Other times we should just feel empowered to do it. Like if you felt empowered to put a dark lip in the first place, why even take it off? Because maybe spiritually you felt like a dark lip day, right? And you put on the dark lip, and you have to just allow yourself to run with it, and maybe just don't even look in the mirror. Just put it on quickly and go, fuck it, that'll do. And just go. And then by the time you're at Circle, it's too late anyway, because you're already there.
Just don't buy one. Don't buy one of those one that's like the stain that you can't get it off.
I would tell you, if you had shit all over your face, I'd be like, we need to go to the bathroom.
But that's what I'm saying. If you buy one of those ones that's a stain, you know, that you need.
Yeah, like, I know.
The oil
and then you go to work the next day and looks like you've been painting with your smooshed. So it's really, that's what really the podcast is about. It's about energy. It's about how it influences you. That's about the clothing aspect and the material that you're wearing and different things. But it's about music and chanting and all of that stuff too. So we talk. I mean, she is obviously very influenced through the music and the instrumental sort of sounds. And music is linked directly to frequency. It's linked directly to energy. So music's actually very, very important in the craft. And I don't just mean music, voice, chants, music itself, all of that stuff has a very high frequency. And we often hear sometimes in witchcraft about the musical spheres, right? The 7 musical spheres that Diana passed through before she descended to Earth to become mortal. If you don't know that story, I can't go into it, it's too long. But
too bad.
I'll talk about it another day.
If you want to know about it, let us know.
She passes through the 7 musical spheres, right? And each sphere, each of the 7 spheres is a different frequency, but those spheres are obviously mirrored in her descent to the underworld as well, which is why she gives up something. So she gains something when she passes through the spheres in the upper realm. I don't call it heaven and hell. And through the underworld, she gives up something each time to pass through the underworld, because in the underworld, when you get to the very bottom level, you have to be completely naked and free of everything. That's a very short version of it. But it talks about frequency in general, right? It talks about the frequency of bees, the frequency of sound, and how that actually sets the earth in motion during the sort of creation of everything. And what sort of got me thinking about this was in our coven circles. So I actually don't play music when I'm doing my witchy stuff. I prefer silence. If I'm doing a particular, like when I was putting together my Norse runes and I made my own, I had Norse music playing. I felt like a Viking, mate. I was like, oh, this is great. I'm just channeling all my, it's not Viking, it's Proto-Germanic. It's much older than that. But anyway, I had that sort of type music on, that Norse sort of really primal, instinctual music playing. I had it just blaring. Nobody was up, so it was fine. And I was just that was when I like set shit on fire. And then my candle leaked and it went over my carpet. And I was like, holy mother of God. Just a hot mess everywhere. I was like blowing. That was when I was running outside and chucking my candle outside. I was like, fucking hell, it's going on fire. Surprised the smoke alarm didn't go off. Anyway, I was clearly channeling too much. I was like, okay, I need to turn that down a bit. Those goddamn Vikings are just too much power.
And then I was too scared to light my candle.
And then I was like, if you lit yours, you were like, absolutely not after yours.
No way.
It's a bit of a disaster. I got them done, but it took ages. So I do sometimes play it, but mostly not. But when we're in circle, music is playing constantly in the background, which I enjoy. I feel like when I go into those meditative states with the goddess, when we do like goddess meditations, the music really enhances and influences how I visit the goddess and how I interact with the goddess. And some of that background music influences my spell, or if it's a full moon and we're letting go of something. So I got very upset at the last circle. it's just stuff that's going on personally. And we were writing things to burn, and I'd written a list of things to burn away. And I read we and Kira conversed. I was like, what'd you write on yours? You know, like in an exam, what'd you get for question 2? Oh shit, I didn't write that. Which one's right? Do you think mine or yours? Like, I don't know. So we like wrote, we'd be terrible if we went to school together.
I know, we'd be busted all the time.
We'd be busted. So she read out hers. I was like, oh, it's so good. That's really great. She was like, what do you write for yours? And I like wrote one for mine. And then I turned to Kira and I said, oh my God, I think I'm going to cry. And she was like, really? And I was like, yep, here it comes. And it just came like a flood. And I was like, what?
It was literally like a switch was flicked.
So that's normally how I get upset. So I usually so again, I'm quite in tune with my energy. I know immediately when I'm going to cry. I immediately feel it and I go, oh, yep, it's coming. But I'm trying not to shut my emotions off because I've been compartmentalizing for a long time, and I'm trying to bring them out because emotion is how I actually respond to people. Which I said to you, I didn't tell my psych this, but I was like, well, I've done a human design and I did a whole thing, and I've realized now that all my power comes from my sacral and it comes from my power of my emotions. So I really need to get in touch with those babies. I can't have them like just shut off. But I have a lot of trauma, so my brain closes off emotions for me because I can't deal with them. So I'm trying to bring them back slowly. So it's coming in odd times, like when I'm in circle and I need to have a silent cry to myself. Anyway, the cry went on for quite a bit. It's like 30 odd minutes. And
you felt good after it, though.
I did feel good. I always feel cathartic after I cry anyway, but like I was trying not to, I obviously didn't want to make a scene, but I cried silently, but
she's very good at it.
I'm very good at crying silently. That's years of abuse and trauma that's done that. But I was very good at, I wanted to let it sort of come though, if you know what I mean. I wasn't trying to hurry it up because we were doing spell work. I was like, I need to just let it release in its own time. If it takes 30 minutes, it takes 30 minutes. But the whole point of that long-winded story was there was a certain type of music that was playing in the background, and that 100% influenced how I was able to release the emotion. Not make me sad. The music didn't make me sad. The sadness and the emotion that was coming out was what I had written to release. But the music influenced that flow of emotion, and it was able to keep that flow open so that I wasn't closing it off mentally and I was allowing it to just completely come out of me. So that is how music, I often find music helps. If I'm feeling sad or I need to release something, I will play instrumental type music because it makes me, I don't know, it just keeps me in touch with the emotion. It's not that the music is sad. It puts me in touch with the emotion better to be able to release it. That's the best way, or I suppose that is that's probably what I would use music for the most, I would think, as in consciously in terms of my energy.
Yeah.
And in particular, Stella's dad, when he was playing that music, I still have to get that Spotify off you.
I'm trying to find it and I can't find it.
So Stella's dad played for us as well. He plays like instrumental guitar. Oh my God, this stuff is beautiful. He was playing it when we were he's playing it throughout the whole coven, but he did it. It was particularly powerful for me when we were doing a meditation. And I said to you afterwards, oh my God, that stuff really, because some music can take me out of meditation and it can just be too much for me, too much brain chatter. So it is quite a delicate balance, but I find that what Stella puts in is a very delicate balance in terms of like what she has sort of playing in the background, and her dad's music in particular this was in another coven circle, but it transported me really into that goddess meditation. I had quite a powerful visitation with the goddess during it. And I definitely felt like at the time, because I mentioned it to you, I felt at the time it was 100% his music that influenced that power and that push in that visitation, in that meditation. So music, voice, chanting, all of that is really powerful in witchcraft. And it doesn't have to be music, right? It can be chanting. Like I chant, I think maybe because I don't use music at home when I'm doing spell work, but I chant, and I chant out loud. Not like, I don't project it. Let's say it quietly. just doing a spell. Just ignore everything you hear. But I chant and I say it over and over and over and over again. And I put myself into a trance when I do that.
Yeah.
And I say it as many times as I need to until I feel like the energy is spent or whatever I've wanted to do has been done. And the chanting itself is its own meditation. It's its own frequency. It's its own vibe. So I know those things about me already, but I love learning like the new, like again, I've just recently picked up on the music and influencing emotions and Stella's dad's music, the type of music as well.
That's it, isn't it?
Heartstrings, Ian Morton.
I think it is.
We'll know when you play it because it's very... That sounds like it. So it's Heartstrings. It's on Spotify. It's called Heartstrings by Ian Morton. If anyone's interested. It was really... I found it really, though... I don't know what it was. It's like the strum of the guitar. It's the tones. It just had a really nice vibe that set the tone but wasn't too much to take you out of anything, and it kept you in a very nice neutral sort of state.
Yeah, that sounds like it.
Yeah, I think that is him.
I'm really sorry, Stella, if it's not.
If it's not, we apologise. We don't know who we're playing, if that's the case.
I'm pretty sure it is though.
I think that sounds like her dad's music. It's very different from anything I've heard. So that was really... Did you want to talk about anything with music or frequency?
I don't think so.
How do you do your chants?
I don't really chant. No. I'm more of I listen to a lot of music like that, or like I have certain playlists on my Spotify that, depending on what sort of mood I'm in as to what music I want to listen to. I do like a lot of instrumental music, just because it kind of, like, I don't have to concentrate on what anybody is saying.
Yeah, I find sometimes if it's words, it takes me out.
Yeah. So quite often I'll listen to instrumental music just to kind of put me in the zone or to calm my nervous system or whatever. I guess I just haven't really been... Chanting just doesn't really kind of get me in that flow. Like sometimes I will make vibrational noises, which I suppose is kind of like a chant, but...
It is, yeah.
When we went to...
Mantric, there's a word for that. It's mantric? Mantric, it could be mantric chanting.
I don't know.
But it's when it's the sound.
Yeah.
It's to do with the sound and not the words.
Yeah. And it's that vibration that it causes in your body. But chanting to me, I feel it's really hard to chant if you don't know what you're chanting. Yes. And I'm not very good at making up stuff like that on the spot, which is probably why I don't like it. But also we've been to a few events where there has been chanting, and it just... Like if you don't know what it is, it's hard to get into the flow because you've got to think about it. And, you know, if other people are doing it, you feel like people are kind of listening to you and, well, you don't know what you're doing. And like, it doesn't really kind of like, I am very connected to music. I've said this before on podcasts. Yeah, you are. My daughter and I sing a lot. I get very emotional with music. Yeah. You know, I could be singing with my daughter and then all of a sudden I'm crying, but it's just that emotional connection with her because she's very much like I was when I was younger, but I didn't have the confidence to kind of...
So this is really like it's like a learning something, you know, when we're talking about journaling and how you could actually journal. I take that on now because I felt I wasn't confident enough to do that when I was younger, and why is music so important to me? And it could totally link back to, you know, feeling the way, why did you feel like that when you were younger?
Yeah.
Like,
well, it's funny, we were talking before we started recording, we were talking about frequency and vibration and how that has an effect on you. And then we were saying, you know, do you remember the days when you used to go to a school disco or whatever, and, you know, your parents would be like,
those are I don't think I have one good memory from school disco. They were always traumatizing.
Although I don't ever remember my parents being there, but, you know, people would be like,
I'm thinking of like Christmas events. Like we did Christmas events where there was discos when we were young.
Because we did churchy ones too. And it'd be like, get up there and dance. And
before she was a witch, ladies and gentlemen.
Get up there and go and, be the first one basically. And you're like,
mate, why did your parents try to get you up? Nobody was dancing. They were like, come on. And I never got up and danced. It freaked me out.
Even when the dance floor was full, I very rarely got up and danced. It was only when I was older and drunk and didn't give a shit. But, it could have been a confidence thing back then, but could it also have been a frequency thing?
An energetic, like you weren't feeling the energy, like you just didn't vibe with the energy, whether it was the music, the song, the crowd, people, the crowd, just like how Damsel talks about she doesn't sometimes connect with them physically, so she has to connect with them through different things. Yeah. So that's what got us talking about, like, oh my God, when I think about school discos and dancing, and even now I wouldn't get up and dance. I'm just not.
No.
It's just not my thing.
When I used to go out drinking, you could not get me off the dance floor. But that's because I was drunk and, I didn't really care what people thought. Yeah, I probably was. But I don't drink anymore. So
who has time, Kira?
I know. I just can't deal with the hangovers and shit. No, thank you.
Yes.
I got better things to do with my time. Anyway. But yeah, it's interesting to look back on things like that and go, was it a confidence thing, or did I just not vibe with it?
Yep.
Was it because just not the right frequency?
I think about now, it's not that I'm not confident, I suppose I just don't think of confidence as even being a factor, but I still wouldn't get up and do it. So is there a little bit of fear around that, or is it because I just energetically that's just not how I connect, and I don't connect that way through music? And even if I'm at home listening to music, I'll not dance. Yeah,
see, I struggle to dance with my kids. They dance
I just like to listen to it, because that's just that's how I like it.
Yeah.
And that's fine. What I'm saying is it's different for everybody. So you've got to find your voice, find what connects with you, find what you energetically are connecting to through witchcraft, through music, through your voice, through chanting. It doesn't have to be through chanting. Like I chant personally in my own spells always. I never not chant. Kira doesn't. But I actually don't think my mum does, now that I think about it.
You have to ask her.
I'd have to ask her. I think she just says what she needs to say, and then she just sits and meditates. She usually just scries into the candle and then just waits to see who pops up. But I like to chant. And when Kira was mentioning earlier about chanting, like we'd gone to this event once, and at the end of it, they did a chant. It was a witchcraft event, but it was more of an information session, right? A sort of presentation on we go to anything like that if we see it, just because we like to go to meet people and we like to go to connect with who's there, and opportunity and support people who are doing what they're doing. But they did a really big witchy chant at the end where everybody was involved. There was like 50, 60 people. And it was a really loud chant, and it was a very, I'm going to say this. It felt very obnoxious. And I don't mean that. I'm not trying to bag on the presenter or in any way. That's how it felt to me. Now, I did chant because I felt influenced to chant, because she didn't give you an option to not chant.
I mean, she wouldn't have known if you didn't.
She wouldn't have known.
There was so many people, but you just kind of
we all sort of were around in a circle. And we sort of had to do it.
Being in the ocean and you've been knocked by a wave and there's nothing you can do to stop it. You just kind of have to roll with it.
We just had to roll with it. Like. But I did say to Kira afterwards, I was like, I did not like that. Like, I have no problem with chanting, but it has to be on my terms in my own practice. And again, like you say that, but circle is not like that either. Like because it's not a chant to me. That's not a chant. It's a thing. And if we do chants at the end, it's optional, but I always love to do it anyway, because it sort of sits with similarly to how I practice witchcraft anyway.
But circle feels like a safe space.
Circle feels like a safe space where you're with your witch sisters, and it's just, again, it's the presenter too, right? But our witch Stella and Sarah, they have that vibe, and it's I feel good in their presence, right? I feel welcome in their presence. I feel seen, but the chant at the end of this felt commercial, if you want to say, a bit sort of obnoxious, and because she wanted us to
feel like you were expected to know it.
yeah, that was the other thing too. Nobody even knew it, and it was just repeating words. And then I was trying to catch up. I felt like I was doing aerobics for the first time. I was fucking turning the wrong way.
Yeah.
And she was going, "You at the back, get back in line." You're like, "Fuck, which way's left arm? Which way's left?" So confused.
Other left.
It was so.
It was, yeah.
And afterwards, you did a workout, but you were like, "I feel so mentally drained."
And the teacher's going, "You did not do the right workout."
Fuck. It was a bit like that. It was a bit like a Zumba class for the first time, and it's not. But she kept wanting you to increase the volume because she was going louder, louder, louder. And I was like, I don't like this. I feel like I'm being pulled up to the dance floor when I don't want to fucking dance, and I don't like it. And I was just really confronted by also, I did not like the noise. Like, I don't like anything too loud either. Like, I find it really like jarring. And the whole experience just wasn't, the information session was good, but the chant at the end I thought was way too much.
Yeah.
And for an information session, I thought, holy fuck, imagine putting that in at the end. Like, that would scare the shit out of so many people, especially if they weren't sure about witchcraft.
I think of a mutual friend who we met there.
Yes.
I think of that person and go...
I said to you, I'm surprised she wasn't freaked out by that chant, because that chant was really confronting for me, and I've been a witch for years.
Yeah.
So, and I was like, whoa,
and
that's
I'm pretty
too
sure
much
that
for me.
was their first event. But, you
That's
know...
too much for me.
Maybe we
Anyway.
just... Yeah.
So what I'm saying is there are things that are confronting, and there are things that... And yes, sometimes things are confronting because we have to sit with why they are confronting. And it's a trigger, right? Or it's trauma-based, or it belongs to a past life. But then other times it's an energetic response, right? Like, and witchcraft is all about reading energy, feeling energy. It's empathic, it's intuitive, it's a flow, it's a two-way system, all of it. And all of it has an energetic response. The clothing you wear, how you present yourself, what type of spells you do, how you like to do them, what music you listen to, if you even like music. The social sort of gathering. So if you don't feel like do what Damsel does, if you don't feel like you're in that external space to be able to be socially, because after I had my sort of like emotional breakdown on Tuesday in the circle, I didn't feel myself, obviously, because I was quite tired. I didn't feel like conversing with many people. So you let yourself be known through your presence, or through your clothes, or through how you show up. So not everything has to be how the social hierarchy or norms would present that it has to be. You have to be this, you have to be that. As witches, you can do whatever the fuck you want.
No gatekeeping, people.
Let's just think about Mitch and say, Mitch says, I can do whatever the fuck I want.
If you don't know what we're talking about, watch one of the other podcasts.
Watch one of the other podcasts. We talk about Mitch.
But I do think it's good to kind of just stop and think.
Yeah.
If something triggers you, stop and think why. If something makes you feel really good, you don't have to think why, but just
have
take
a moment
a note of it.
That's
so that you can incorporate it next time.
Absolutely. That's called being more spiritually aware, more energetically aware. Yeah. As witches, you find that the more you practice your craft, the more you're involved you are in your craft, the more energetically aware you become. Yeah. So it's a really good idea to journal. It's a really good idea to make note of those things, to make conscious sort of like notes in your head, like, oh, I quite like that music, or, oh, that really helped me do this, that, and the other. Those are all, which you said earlier, we should mention keys. That's all part of your keys, helping you to unlock parts of yourself, parts of who you are, why you like certain things, why you don't like certain things. And if you don't know the answer, that's okay. Come back to it. You just make a note of it and say, I didn't like this. I find it really confronting and not in a good way. So you just leave it like that, and you see if it pops up again later on in the year. And if you have the similar response, then that's when we start to see synchronicity come in, and we start to see like, okay, things are mapping together. So I can start to see like, oh, this is something maybe I need to look at, or this isn't just a one-time event. So maybe I was just off that day. Maybe the energetic feeling was off, whatever it might be. Yeah. Don't have to have all the answers. No. So yeah.
And it may be something you want to explore, and it may be something you go, nope, I'm putting that in the box, and that's where it's staying.
That's okay.
Absolutely.
As Mitch says, do whatever the fuck you want. I'm just going to use that in my everyday life forever.
Mitch says.
So that was our podcast. Frequency, energetic vibing, being more witchy in whatever way you want to present that. Clothing, energy response, music,
smell,
scent,
light, color,
light, like the flower tethering to certain things, whatever. Doesn't matter.
You got this.
You got this. Yes. You got this. So we might do a podcast next week because we just missed one.
We might try and
Kira's moving.
I'm moving again next week. I'm doing it over.
She's doing it over a course of 2 weeks, but it's a bit hectic and messy.
But we love to catch up.
And we've got Circle again not next week, week after. New moon in Gemini.
Yeah.
My moon. Geminis.
Whoop, whoop, whoop.
Whoop whoop. I'll be in a good frame of mind because I'll be in Gemini. I'll be in my sun sign.
I'll probably be haggard as hell.
You'll be haggard. That's okay. You can borrow some of my Gemini energy. My sun energy. I'll vibe it with you. Okay.
Anyway,
that's
have a great week.
Have a great week. Yes.
Keep your magic moving.
Mm-hmm. Oh, I like that. Keep your magic moving. That should be our mantra.
There you go.
Okay.
I've got to write it down.
Bye.
Bye.